This council meeting on Tuesday, January the 21st to order. Please stand. Compliments to the music selection tonight.
It gets better and
It
better.
does. That was terrific.
I wonder if they take
It
turns
drowned,
selecting.
it drowned us out.
Maybe a team building thing that the staff
Oh,
does.
maybe. To pick the national anthem. That was great, gang.
Great
That was, we could sing loud and clear.
We will begin this meeting of council by acknowledging that we are meeting on Aboriginal land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. Long before today, as we gather here, there have been Aboriginal peoples who have been the stewards of this place. In particular, we acknowledge the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, and Haudenosaunee peoples.
Thank you very much, Councillor Aragona. And item number 4 is the adoption of the agenda. It's moved by Councillor Cardy, seconded by Councillor Aragona, that the agenda of the council meeting of January 21st, 2025 be adopted as presented. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Item number 5 is any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move to item 6.1, which is the adoption of minutes. It's moved by Councillor Aragona, seconded by Councillor Cardy, that the minutes of the December 17, 2024 council and January 7th, 2025 committee of the whole meetings be adopted as presented. Any errors, omissions, or corrections? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. We're moving into the motions and resolutions. Item 7.1 is the amendment to the unanimous shareholders agreement with Rideau St. Lawrence. It's moved by Councillor Cardy, seconded by Councillor Aragona, that council endorse the proposed changes to the Rideau St. Lawrence unanimous shareholder agreement as attached to the January 21st, 2025 council meeting agenda. And just let me say for any of the public that is viewing, we have had the opportunity 2 weeks ago at Committee of the Whole to debate these issues. So if you think we're moving through them quickly and not giving them due attention, we always debate them at Committee of the Whole. And 2 weeks later, if there's no other questions, then we do tend to move it through quickly, but it's not that we don't think that they're important. It's just that we've had our say. So that being said, any comments? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Item 7.2 is the 2025 Asset Management Plan legislative requirements. It's moved by Councillor Aragona, seconded by Councillor Cardy. The council approved staff's recommendation to sole source PSD citywide for the review and development of the asset management plan to ensure compliance with the Ontario Regulation 588-17 until 2030. The cost to be included in the 2025 budget in the amount of $42,200 plus applicable tax. Reminder to everybody here, although it's in your package, this is a statutory requirement that we get this done, and we are simply doing the additional year's work 1 year earlier at a reduced price. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Just quickly, I had a call about the sole sourcing and I did a little bit of homework in addition to what Kim shared last week, and that company is doing it for every, they're it. So,
Yeah, that's a good way to word it, that you're gonna get the, I guess I could say the best bang for your buck going with PSD because that's their core business.
yeah.
All right, thanks very much for that, Councillor Crapper. Anybody, anything else? Call the question, then all in favor, and that's carried. 7.3 is infrastructure loans maturity. And the recommendation, sorry, it's got attached to it. There we go. It's moved by Councillor Cardy, seconded by Councillor Aragona. The council approved the extension of the following loans for 1 year. The Church Street reconstruction loan at BMO for the remaining is on the principal is 84,500, renewed at a 5.16% interest 1 year. Water treatment plant loan at renew the outstanding of 126,500 at BMO at again 5.16% interest. And the remaining on the Royal Bank large subsurface disposal system construction loan of 277,294, renew it for 1 year at 5.59% interest. I know there was some questions back and forth, and hopefully you got the answers to your questions on why the recommendation was coming this way for the 1 year. Any discussion about that? All right, then
I'll just quickly, I think it's worthwhile the public hearing that. The one piece that really jumped out at me with other loans in a year coming due, the opportunities for us to renegotiate are just
Right.
better at that point.
right, and I think, thanks very much. I think there's 5 additional loans all coming due next year. Is that right? Or 4? So that will be 7 in total or 4 in total?
4 with these 3.
3, so it'll be
yes.
7 in total. Yeah, so a little bit more strength in bargaining when you have that amount. Okay, anybody, anything else? Okay, call the question, all in favor, and that's carried. Terrific, thank you. Go to staff reports now. 8.1 is the asset retirement obligation policy. Moved by Councillor Aragona, seconded by Councillor Cardy. The council received the report entitled Administration Asset Retirement Obligation Policy, and that the council of the village of Westport adopt the asset retirement obligation policy as presented at the January 21, 2025 council meeting. Of course, this is another obligation that we have that we need to meet. Any questions? Councillor Cracker.
Just a clarification, page 2, it says the entity that is currently consolidated with the village of Westport includes, it just stipulates the Westport Public Library through you. Can you just clarify what that means exactly?
Sure, just give a minute to find it, unless Mr. Evans has already got it.
Do you have the page in the back?
Yeah, page 2 of 6, item 4.1.
Yeah, thanks, one second. I'm not seeing it.
Oh,
Sorry.
so it's under its scope.
Oh, okay.
Page 20, sorry.
Oh, in the past.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
that
so
helps.
because they're consolidated into our financial statements, they're on it.
Because, and so of all the facilities, they're the only one of the
That's right.
facilities that are consolidated, okay.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Through your, we also own the building.
Yeah.
So because it's a municipal asset, it would fall underneath the subsidies designation for us to report on.
Okay, great, thanks.
Good then, Councillor Cracker? Yeah, you're good? Everybody, anybody, anything else? I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Terrific. 8.2 is our building permit updates. It's moved by Councillor Cardy, seconded by Councillor Aragona, that council received the report entitled Administration Building Permit Update Q4 2024 for information purposes. Any comments? Councillor Aragona.
I think it might be useful at this point to just re-emphasize that this is a report council sees every quarter, and that council itself is not involved in issuing building permits. There is a structured policy in place for this. It's contracted out through Rideau Lakes, but in behind the building permit process, there's also structured processes in place and policies in place to regulate how things are developed and how things are built in the village. So anybody that's looking at this and seeing this list can refer back to any of the other policies just to see how we actually get here. Because looking at this, I thought, some people might look at this and say this is happening rather quickly, but it'd be good just to reiterate that.
Okay, yeah, good. Thanks very much for that, Councillor Aragona. Of course, if anybody's got questions, they can always call the office and speak to the CAO. Anybody, anything else? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. 8.3, 2024 fourth quarter variance reports. To the end of November. So it's moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crapper, that council received the Treasury fourth quarter variance report. Really, it's to the end of November, if my memory serves me right. Yeah, is that right? Okay, yeah. Thank you. Just because I'm going to record it this way, I'd like the motion to be good. Reports for information purposes. So hopefully you had a chance to look at it. Were you all dancing in your spot?
Looks pretty good
It was pretty
overall.
good, yeah. Yeah, so we still have one more month, to catch up the year ends, but it was, we'll wait to see what the year end brings in, but happy to see it, happy that we got the report. Councillor Crapper.
I had one question and one comment. The question is to do with MPAC assessments and reassessment. Do we have any idea? But when I look at about my property, and I look at houses that have been built in the past few years, their tax is about half what the value of the homes was for. So I'm thinking that when there is a reassessment in our village, the world will look somewhat different. What are we looking at at this point? What's the public comment around MPAC reassessment?
So two things. The review, so the Minister of Finance had instructed last year MPAC to review their process and modeling. And so that is still underway, and he briefed us on that yesterday, so it's still underway. Not anybody in the room was happy about that, 2,000 politicians, but that's the position of the government, so we need to wait. Let's remember that the amount of tax we collect may not change when the MPAC numbers are redone. And I think that's probably why you're asking the question, is just to get that back out into the public. We will know what we need to run the village. Let's just say it's $1.5 million. When the homes are reassessed, and if the assessments go up, it does not mean that their tax bill will go up, because we will determine what ratio we use for property tax, so that at the end of the day, we end up with 1.5 million or whatever the amount is. So this, I know that there can be concern, particularly with the newer homes, that the assessment is lower than their purchase price. So that's kind of black and white to people, right? But we would like to get it redone across the province. But I don't expect it won't be until this election's over.
Yeah,
that's really,
I guess that's right, which may not be that far away.
May not. Councillor.
Just a comment, after doing a little research into the impact procedural thing, fit and finish has no influence on their assessment of the house. It doesn't matter whether your coverage costs $100,000 or $200. It's the living area and the number of stories and the property size. It's just the basics, not fit and finish. So that kind of explains why you could have $1 million home with a $550,000 assessment.
Yeah, it's really confusing for people, but there is CAO, my home, you go to the MPAC.
About my property.
About my property.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, is the link on the MPAC homepage, and it's very user friendly.
And updated since I last looked at it. It's much more comprehensive.
You can also look at your neighbor's homes and
Yeah,
up to 20 of them.
okay.
I looked at yours.
I would.
I was looking at yours.
I was looking at
Anything else about the variance? Oh, go ahead.
I had a comment, I guess, and this has to do with, I think, what is a new category, which is to do with our council grants. And I did want to point out that although we value the grants at a certain amount at this time for that quarter, 26,000, unlike all of the other categories, which, we know what we get for our insurance. If we budget $10,000 for insurance, we know we're getting insurance that meets our needs. To think about through you, how will we demonstrate the cost? So what, some of the things that we give grants for are providing us with a service that is a value, like, I think, for example, if we didn't have a group doing a orange shirt day, we would probably be doing it ourselves or in some other way. So if that group is granted use of a facility for that or whatever, there is a cost benefit to many of the grants that we give. In fact, I'd argue all of them, because they bring tourism to the town. We're giving access to facilities because we value what that group is bringing to our village. And that's not easy for people to see on this. They just see that we have given $26,000 worth of theoretical space that may or may not have been used, had we not, but they're using it to bring to us something that we wouldn't otherwise get. I'm just putting that out there because I think it's an important consideration in the math of how on every other line we get something for what we pay for, and we're getting something for what we're paying for in the grants line.
So a couple of things, this document's not to, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
But this document is all about numbers for council, so we know what we have spent. I'm not sure where we collect that, whether we collect it on the website. Maybe staff could take it away, because I see the point you're making. We wouldn't be giving the grant if there wasn't a return on the investment in some way for us. But for these sheets, it's a significant amount of commitment of ours. But I don't want to change, the sheet needs to be as clear for us.
It's just something that jumped out at me, unlike, because it just says council grants. That could be construed as, okay, yeah, we're a needy, whatever organization we're giving, if people hadn't been following our discussion about the grants policy.
Right.
And perhaps it'll be in a roll-up of the grants that were given and what the rationale is, but what it struck me is some of these things would be things we'd have to do otherwise. Because a community group is bringing to us these things, we're giving them facility to do it. That's not just us being nice, that's us being grateful that they're providing these services and the access to things.
Yeah, fair enough. Good comments. Anybody, anything else? Go ahead.
Actually, just following up on Councillor Crapper's comment, I think that my question through you, Your Worship, to Kim. Kim, refresh my memory. Did we have a grant report in our grant policy? Is there a reporting mechanism to say these are the grants that have been awarded over the past X number of months?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Council approved 2 intakes. This is intake 1, January 31st coming up. And I have a duty to report back as information what the finance committee has deemed as meeting criteria, and therefore what we paid out, or what council, we're going to recommend council approve for the first part for 2025 budget.
Okay.
So that's going to be a discussion at budget to talk about what the second intake is going to look like based on the first intake, and then years prior, some of the fees we've waived
Okay,
to
so
come up with an analysis of what an appropriate number would be.
yeah, so that'll inform not only council, but also inform the public as to where the money's gone and the value that has been brought to the village because of that.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Good. Councillor.
Just to refresh my memory through you, Madam Mayor, was there a certain amount that we were going to max out on for the first intake? Can you just refresh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
go
to
ahead.
you, Madam Mayor. I think we said we were gonna trial it for the first intake and see what we get for applications. And then from there, discuss that budget, whether we put a limit on it or not.
Okay, everybody good with that then? Yep. More to come. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, but still, good news for sure. Bylaws. Moved by Councillor, so this is for our appoint Brandon as our CEMC, moved by Councillor Crapper, seconded by Councillor Card. The bylaw 2025-01, we have to let him know, he's the first bylaw of the year. Being a bylaw to appoint a CEMC, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 21st day of January 2025. All in favor? Carried. And please thank Brandon for taking on that role for you.
Yeah.
All right, 9.2 is paramedic services, the rental agreement with the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville. It's moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crapper, that bylaw 2025-02, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a lease agreement between the Corporation of the Village of Westport and the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville for space for a paramedic service station at the Westport Fire Hall, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 21st day of January 2025. Any discussion? Councillor Craig.
Yeah, I think it's a good indication that the upper tier and the paramedic service see good value in being stationed in the village of Westport. Certainly, the residents can appreciate the decrease in response times and the excellent service that we've been getting from the paramedics that have been stationed here. So I think it's a good all around.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to thank the paramedics. The program's growing. And yet not yet approved, but I suspect there's gonna be any barrier to approving Front of Young and Merrickville Wolford. They're staggered. I'm not sure who's coming first in 25, but both will have the community response unit before 2025 is out. And it's really because Athens' numbers and our numbers are down, and the response times are down, and the feedback that they get from people like you.
That's great.
Councillor.
So a year ago, I recall you being iffy as to whether it would survive more than a year politically. And it's wonderful that it has. Is that advocacy on our part, or is it numbers, or is it a combination of?
Combination of both. Yeah, council is very supportive. And it's nice when you've got two other municipalities looking for the same consideration. And once again, it goes around the council table and everybody supports it. But the numbers that we get from the chief, I think it's every quarter, just continue to show that, off the top of my head, Peter would know better than me, but let me guesstimate what they were. If they were close to 20 minutes for a response before this, they're closer to 10 now. So we really are, or they were closer to 18 and now they're 9. They're about 50% quicker. I'm not looking at them. 50% reduction in response time. So we're still not into the magic 5 minutes, but we're getting a lot closer.
That's great.
Yeah. Somebody over here had a question? No? No, everybody's good? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Our temporary borrowing bylaw, and again, for the public to know, we pass this every year. It's just by routine so that we know that we have this bylaw in place should the need arise. We haven't had to use it, but it's a procedure for us. So it's moved by Councillor Crapper, seconded by Councillor Card, that bylaw 2025-03 being a bylaw to authorize temporary borrowing by means of an operating line of credit be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 21st day of January 2025. Comments? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Terrific. Interim tax rate bylaw. It's moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crapper, that bylaw 2025-04 being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy and the payment of interim taxes for the year 2025 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 21st day of January 2025. And see, you have a bit of an update, like, so this is being passed tonight so that we can get the tax bills out. Is that correct?
Yep. And 50% of last year's I'll be.
Okay. Everybody understand it's the same thing that we always get, and those bills will be coming out within the next week or so.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
very good. Any comments? We'll call the question. All in favor? Carried.
Excuse me, were we talking about some attachments in that mail out on, there's an opportunity with our strategic plan meeting we have planned, etc. So given that that's soon, the mail out of the taxes, are you planning on some inserts of any type?
Oh. Let's chat.
Yeah.
We'll chat and get back to you. How's that? Bill, I don't know how far they are in the process, so we'll,
I'd have to check that.
yeah, we'll see where they are. And we picked a date, yes?
I think so. I looked for it.
I think we said April, but I think.
Oh, but I thought we picked a month. I didn't
Yeah, I
think,
could
yeah.
pick them
Yeah,
up.
I thought we were gonna put it in the utility bills when we start to use those.
Yes.
ones,
That's
but-
the plan.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I think that's what we talked about.
Alright.
Let me double
Yeah.
check. and see if
Okay.
it's up to you.
If we can, we will, but just sort of a vague strategic plan, public meeting coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody okay with that? All right, so we'll move on to 9.5, asset retirement obligation policy. I gotta tell you, I always bristle when I see those words, obligation. Anyway, it's my problem. Okay, moved by Councillor Crafter, seconded by Councillor Card, that bylaw 2025-05 being a bylaw to establish a policy for asset retirement obligations be read a first, second, and third time and finally passes 21st day of January 2025. Any discussion, questions? No? All right, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Very good. 9.6 is the agreement with WSCS Consulting. And so it's moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crapper, that bylaw 2025-06, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with WSCS Consulting for financial services, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 21st day of January. Any questions? Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, this is like speed dating. Any notices of motion? Any announcements? How's our hockey team doing there, Councillor
Doing
Cardy?
very well, 2 wins this weekend.
Okay, and it's a game Friday night,
Yeah, and they won back to there on Saturday.
and I see that there's somewhere I saw a Facebook entry, and I want to say it out loud, that they are celebrating Bundy,
Yes, 30 years.
30 years in Athens, at the Athens Arena,
That's correct.
February 1st, if I got the date
That's
right.
correct.
It feels good. And so, I just want to encourage everybody to go because, let's face it, he's awesome.
Yeah.
And 30 years of your life focusing on youth and hockey and all the extra hours that it takes. So I'd encourage everybody to go. I will be there for sure.
Everyone other.
Okay. We'll have the opportunity to shake his hand and thank him for everything that has been done. Councillor Crapper.
On that note, I've learned a lot this week about one of our recent volunteer recipients after his untimely death. And boy, have I ever learned a lot about Don Goodfellow that I didn't know, and how many people have been so grateful for what he's contributed to a diverse range of supports and services in the region, not just the community. A really special guy, and I just wanted to point that out, and it's great therefore that he was here and that he was a recipient, and I think that was pretty special. Sad loss for the community, but it's pretty neat to look at when that happens and recognize, sometimes too late in my case, to that the amount of benefit to our community that he brought with him. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. Many people touched
Mhm.
by his loss for sure. Yeah. Alrighty, everybody else okay with that? Any comments? No, okay. So, questions from the public or the media? Nope. Alrighty, so the confirmatory bylaw, anybody, anything else? Going once, going twice, okay. Confirmatory bylaws moved by Councillor Crapper, seconded by Councillor Card, that bylaw 2025-07 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings at its meeting held on January 7th and January 21st, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this 21st day of January 2025. All in favor? Carried. And I'm going to use that time.
6:28.
6:28, thank you, sir. Better. Moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor Crapper, that this meeting of the council of the village of Westport be adjourned at 6:28 p.m. All in favor? And carried.